What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, Hazyrome, and as always, I'm joined by the God of Night, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, Deepboyce. And today we are on the Hall of Spoilers to rank the top 5 people who should replace Green Arrow in the Arrowverse, the CW Arrowverse. Deepboyce, tell them what it is.
Yes, I mean, in this recent season of the CW's Arrow, if you haven't caught up and you don't already know.
Oh, it's a Spectacular Spoiler League. We're not worrying about
we
those
spoil
people, okay?
Spectacularly.
Because if you hear, you know we spoiling.
We're spoiling spectacularly. But Oliver Queen has supposedly stepped down as the Arrow, as the Green Arrow of Star City. And he has given the mantle over, at least temporarily, to John Diggle, his right-hand man, his bestie, his best man,
who's now Green Diggle.
Green Diggle out there with the shakes and a crossbow.
The shakes.
But that got us kind of theorizing and thinking, you know, down the road, who could potentially replace Oliver Queen as the Arrow?
Right. I mean, let's be honest. You know, he's irreplaceable.
Oh, yes.
But if it ever came a time for someone else to take up the mantle in the CW Arrowverse, who could it be?
Yes.
So without further ado, number 5, baby, Thea Queen, the sister of Oliver Queen. So Thea Queen, you might be thinking, oh, you know, Thea Queen, she's not necessarily the character that excites us the most. You know what I'm saying? Like, and me and Deepboyce have had our complaints about her not really getting storylines that are really compelling. But at the end of the day, Thea Queen, who, you know, has occupied the mantle of Speedy and who is based on the comic book character Mia Dearden, because her name is Thea Dearden Queen. She's definitely based on Mia Dearden, who is someone who had the Speedy mantle. It's only reasonable that, you know, someone like her could possibly take over the Green Arrow mantle. Now, another cool thing that would be interesting about her is that she also has the tie to Malcolm Merlyn, with Merlyn actually being her father. So, you know, you could even have that dynamic where, you know, Merlyn is, you know, one of the Green Arrow's most notorious villains. You could even have this situation where she's got to play out this dynamic with her and her father. It could add an interesting layer to the Green Arrow and Merlyn comic book relationship, and see how it plays out on screen. Yeah,
no, I mean, she is highly skilled and has been trained by both Oliver and Malcolm Merlyn, and you know, for a time there, I guess her dynamic as an archer as well and as a skilled hand-to-hand combatant was kind of interesting. You know, which I guess kind of culminated in how she took out Anarchy, like permanently took him out. He didn't die, I guess, but he got really messed up. You know, and
true. She's a little more brutal.
That's true. A little bit more brutal. Like you mentioned, Malcolm Merlyn is her father, so you never know if there's an opportunity there where his enemies decide to come after her because they obviously can't get to him for whatever reason, because it seems that he is supposedly dead. But you know, again, she has ties to everyone Oliver already does as well. She's highly trained. And listen,
I'd like to see her maybe even leave Star City and maybe even take a page from the comics. Well, the comics is a little different because they're painting Seattle, which is where Griano is at right now, as formerly being known as Star City. But I would like to see her step out to another city, maybe even Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, mentioning current comics, Green Arrow did a bit of a cross-country trek. So maybe Thea is an Arrow that's on the road away from Star City.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. That would definitely be different. Yeah. Because we don't want it to just be a retread of everything Oliver Queen's done. Like, new environment, you know, new Thea, just doing her thing as the Green Arrow. And also, you know, with her being a little bit more willing to take things to more extreme level, maybe we can harken back to a little bit of Arrow season 1 and season 2, where he was I feel like he was way more brutal in those seasons, particularly season 1.
Yes.
We don't necessarily need Thea killing, but it would be nice to see, you know, someone who uses excessive force, because Thea's a little bit different than Oliver in that.
Let's just say I'm pretty sure she wouldn't want to be alone the next time she's in a coma, so she's probably gonna put a few people out.
Exactly, man. But on to number 4, Deepboyce fan favorite. We about to hit him with, man. Hit him with number 4.
Number 4 is none other than the Red Arrow, Colton Haynes. Roy
Arsenal,
Harper himself, who's going to make an appearance, at least briefly, during this season. The first protege, really, of Oliver the Green Arrow. I would also say he's a fan favorite, not just on the show, but just in comics in general. I mean, with the Green Arrow on Teen Titans, on Titans, he's a character that has his own fan base and has his own very interesting history there. And honestly, just again, would kind of fit like a glove if she just comes in and takes over the mantle of the Arrow, of the Green Arrow, or maybe he's just Red Arrow. Maybe he's just Red Arrow, and it's just like Green Arrow's retired, but now we got the Red Arrow.
Good point.
And, you know, maybe the twist could be that he is in the slums instead. You know, he's not living high and mighty like Oliver always has. He's not a mayor. He's not a former billionaire. He has no giant conglomerate behind him, but he is very street level.
Yeah. I mean, Roy Harper, you know, in the show, he was from the Glades, and I always felt that Arrow never really like showed the Glades like how we wanted the Glades to be shown. Like, the Glades was supposed to be kind of like this downtrodden area that, you know, it's crime ridden. It's, you know, there's a lot of poverty there. It's supposed to be a place where, you know, there's not a lot of hope for the average person. And I think, you know, him stepping in as the Green Arrow or Red Arrow, which I think is also a cool possibility. Him stepping in and doing something in an arena like the Glades. Doesn't have to be the Glades. Like I said, I'm all down for different cities. I think with the history is Oliver Queen being the Green Arrow, it's probably best to move it to a different city. Yeah. But seeing Roy Harper, who has, you know, origins for, you know, where he basically, it was tough for him growing up. You know, he's articulated that, and have him, you know, step into an environment like that and kind of be the defender or face for the heroes there would be cool. And it might even have sort of a Daredevil you know, approach to it, where this guy, you know, maybe in a smaller operating a smaller section of the city, where, you know, where Daredevil's holding down Hell's Kitchen.
You read my mind on that one.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, you read my mind on that one. I was thinking, you know, just he's more grassroots. He's just kind of worried about a smaller area as opposed to an entire city. I totally agree with that.
We're in sync, baby. Yeah. We're in sync, baby. You already know that. On to number 3, y'all. Number 3. Now we're going to see, this is where we're going to start, you know, mixing things up a little bit. We're going to step out of the generic responses. So number 3, we've got Robert Queen, Earth 2. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, what are you guys talking about? Where'd you get that one from? So, back in Flash season 2, when Flash headed over to Earth 2, he saw a news report. There was a news report playing, and the news report was that Robert Queen came out as the Arrow, or the Green Arrow, whatever they were calling him on Earth 2. And in that universe, we basically realized that Oliver Queen most likely died on, you know, the Queen Anne's Revenge, and it was Robert Queen who got stuck on the island, came back, and, you know, decided to be the Green Arrow. Whatever his origin story is, I don't know. But it'd be interesting to essentially see an older Green Arrow operating. You know, like someone who is super worn, and maybe he doesn't have the agility of the Green Arrow, but he has to use more of his wits to take down these enemies, more of his experience. And, you know, we could even see him, you know, training a protege or assembling a team that is more youth-inspired. Maybe we see a Green Arrow who, you know, he's starting a younger team of heroes to hopefully save his city. But I think having an older hero in the role might be a little bit of a different take on Green Arrow, as opposed to the younger take that Oliver Queen has often had in the Arrow show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's no mistaking that the Arrow show takes a lot of its cues from Batman. Yeah,
dude, you read my mind. I was gonna say something about that, but go ahead.
And honestly, it would be interesting to see a series or a take on the Flashpoint version of Batman, which was Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father. Because in Earth 2,
I need that.
In Earth 2, Oliver Queen is the one that had passed away, and Robert Queen stayed behind and was able to become the Green Arrow. So again, this take of an older, like Hazy said, hero who's you know, he's got creaking knees, he's you know, maybe had to take some arthritis pills, his vision's a little blurry, you know, he's just doesn't develop that moral code that Oliver eventually develops, and is still out there maiming people, maybe killing people if he has to. Would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, he's come out as the Green Arrow on Earth 2. So maybe he takes a trip through the portal. He's on Earth 1. No one knows his identity. He's operating in a different city. Or maybe it takes place in Earth 2, and maybe it's different in that everyone knows he's the Green Arrow, and maybe he's found a way to operate within the confines of the cities, the respective cities' allowances. Yeah. You know, maybe something along those lines.
Maybe he works for Argus.
There you go. Maybe he works for an organization like that. Yeah. It's funny you said that because the first thing I thought in my head was Dick Grayson as an agent working for Spyro when I said that. But yeah, man, that'd be cool, man. That'd be super cool, man. But Deepboyce, man, hit him with number 2, man. Hit him with the swerve that is number 2. I love number 2.
Number 2 is Oliver Queen, but specifically from Earth 38. If you don't know, Earth 38 is Supergirl's Earth of origin. That's the designation of Supergirl's Earth or her universe, let's say, Earth 38. So again, having that idea where we can maybe develop an Oliver Queen that is more truer to the comics, an Oliver Queen that's not like Batman, which, we don't mind. Obviously, we enjoy Arrow. But maybe they because Supergirl's Earth 38 is a little bit more upbeat. Maybe it's a much more traditional Oliver Queen. And then, you kind of have more room to breathe because there isn't as much that's already there in Earth 38, even though they do make allusion to, let's say, like Batman and obviously Superman made an appearance. But hey, that'll make it a lot easier for any possible crossovers that if you want to do, not like week-long expanding crossovers, but just, a few episodes here and there where one hero shows up, another hero shows up in another show, but definitely because people like, let's say, Hazy, who are big fans of Smallville, they got a version of Oliver Queen there that was much more truer to form.
Oh, absolutely.
And you never know. You never know. I mean, that could always work again on TV.
Yeah, yeah. I would say, like, to be honest with you, like, for those of you who watched Smallville and to those of you who didn't, like, I will honestly say that Justin Hartley's Green Arrow on that show, in terms of his personality, is way more like Green Arrow from the comics than Stephen Amell's portrayal of Green Arrow. Both great portrayals, but I loved Green Arrow on Smallville. And to be honest, Arrow would have never actually came to be without Green Arrow being so popular on Smallville, because originally they thought about spinning out his character from Smallville, but then they said, we want to do something different. And that was around the time where movies like The Dark Knight were super popular, so they decided to go for a dark and gritty portrayal of the Green Arrow. But to move back to Earth 38, Oliver Queen, as Deepboyce said, man, Supergirl's Earth seems like way lighter, way more happy. And, maybe a guy like Oliver Queen, he's like, listen, there's aliens flying around, taking people and dropping them from the sky and whatnot. And I'm just a regular dude with money just trying to make a difference for the little guy. And that's like something key to Oliver Queen in the comics, where he sees himself as someone who fights for the little guy. And maybe he's like, he's okay with not fighting these superhuman characters, superhuman, villains, but he's just like, hey, I just want to protect the little guy. Maybe we see a more grounded Oliver who's a little more happy, a little bit more, jovial. Maybe we even see an Oliver with a goatee, something straight from the comics. But I would be more than happy to see a lighter take on Green Arrow. And also, side note, like, Supergirl is kind of feels isolated there on Earth 2 or Earth 38. I mean, like, she's kind of like the odd man out when it comes to the Arrowverse in that respect, or the odd woman out, I should say, when it comes to the Arrowverse. And, it would be good to have somebody else over there. It could be Stephen Amell, it could be someone else who plays Oliver Queen. I'm down for it, man. But Deepboyce, on to numero uno. Who do we got at number 1, Deepboyce?
We've got John Diggle Jr., a.k.a. Connor Hawke.
Yes,
from
sir.
The future.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, now keep in mind we didn't mention William as Connor Hawke because
we don't like him. That's why.
There you go.
Get him on that.
Connor Hawke in Legends of Tomorrow, when he appeared in that alternate reality, he was great. Now, obviously, this portrayal would be a little different. He's obviously, that reality doesn't exist anymore because the Legends, effectively took care of things.
Gotta be running everything, these Legends, man.
They do ruin everything. But this is the opportunity for them to do something that I want to see, which is Green Arrow Beyond. And why I say Green Arrow Beyond is I'm directly referencing Batman Beyond, which was a fantastic animated series. Now, they don't need to do flying cars and, you know, anything budget breaking for this environment, but I just basically want to see a futuristic Star City with Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen maybe taking on an older aged Oliver Queen, training this younger, you know, John Diggle Jr., and him operating in this futuristic city. Now, we can do future on a budget. We don't have to have flying cars. We don't have to have like crazy designs on buildings, but what we could do is have, you know, different types of wardrobe, like an advanced, you know, a different type of look at the things people wear. And also something, you know, a little dose of Blade Runner where the lighting and the coloring of, you know, the scenes is a little bit different, a little bit more futuristic in that respect, where you got maybe some more purples and blues and things like that. Now, I will honestly say that when you jump to the future, especially in shows like Legends of Tomorrow, like, I mean, put it like this, Deepboyce, like, just because you jump 20 years in the future doesn't mean we're going to have friggin' flying cars and, you know, all types of advanced things like teleporters and things like that. Like, when we think about, like, now compared to, like, the 90s, which is when we grew up, like, the only thing different from now and back then is that people have, like, smartphones in their hand, pretty much. Like, everything's more or less the same, and styles of clothes are different, too. So, like, we could definitely see, like, a Green Arrow Beyond where we see Connor Hawke taking up the mantle of Green Arrow to save his futuristic city, Star City, man. What say you?
Listen, I'm all for that, and you know, it allows you to kind of remix a lot of other characters, or maybe, you know, sons,
have some legacy characters in there too.
Sons and daughters of characters. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities there. I think that idea of a, you know, superhero Beyond version it is ripe for the picking, and we haven't gotten it yet. I'm not quite sure why, but I totally agree with Hazy that it's really not breaking the budget. You could probably, it's probably even cheaper in a way, depending on what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, you got shows like Star Trek out there, you know, like you could do a futuristic, you know, somewhat futuristic show without breaking the budget and going crazy with like futuristic looking stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and you know, Arrow is typically a show that you're not seeing like a lot of crazy special effects, so you can still, you know, really use some of the funds that you're not using on that to, you know, spruce up the futuristic look of the world. And I think also what would be really cool is, you know, because sometimes you see this with Flash whenever he goes into the future or they talk about the future, but seeing the effects of the Flash's events in the present and how they manifest themselves in the future. You know, let's say, just hypothetically speaking, Arrow is done, and then they go with this show that takes place 20 years in the future, and they reference things, you know, that happen in the Arrow show, whether it's Easter eggs or actual things that had huge importance. That would be really cool for fans that really stuck around and watched Arrow from beginning to end and are not enjoying this new version in the future. You know, it's just a great way. You know, it gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling of being a geek and a nerd and a fan of these sorts of things, where you see that continuity kind of still playing into effect.
Definitely, man. I 100% agree. And before I wrap things up, just one more little thing about that is, you know, I feel like you could have two benefits to the Arrowverse, where you separate him from these other characters and allow him to kind of be on his own and kind of have his own continuity, because it, you know, would be the only show that takes place consistently in the future. But because you got teams like the Legends who still time travel, and you got Flash who also time travels, you could still very well have you know, some time jumps. You know what I mean? You could very well have some crossovers where these characters interact.
Yep.
But anyway, guys, let us know what you think of our top 5 list of people who could replace Green Arrow in CW's Arrowverse. Let us know if you agree with any of these choices. Let us know if you have any alternate takes on any of the picks we've had, or any picks that aren't on this list. And by all means, support the Spectacular Spoiler League by hitting the subscribe button so that we can have you join the Leaguers' cause. Click that like button to help that video get out there, man. We need this video to circulate, man, and have people come to the league, man, so we can have more dope conversations just like this. And hit that bell icon to turn on notifications so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the spectacular spoiler league. Me and Deepboyce, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna start our bow training right now so that we could be the next Green Arrow, man.
Let's make it happen.
We'll see. Let's make it happen, man. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.